I will do my best to speak loudly. Let us let in our other friend. Now I gotta find this thing again and I'm gonna go live. So remember to smile. Okay. So we are live in Facebook. Hello, Rochelle. If you can hear us, everybody will be, I'm going to keep everybody muted as they come in. I obviously have to mute them as they come in. All right. So welcome, Rochelle. You're the first to join this morning. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm
Just so
glad to
that you,
be here.
awesome. Just so that you know, we are live on Facebook already. So we won't be interacting with them, but if they are listening live on Facebook, they will have joined us already. And we actually good to start, Robin, if you want to do that. Okay.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Welcome those on Zoom. Welcome those live on Facebook. So today, the group Heartwiring Women, as you know, we've said it in our introduction, we are just doing a series of live conversations between two certified coaches. These coaches are from different cultures, different countries, even different continents, but we're united in sharing universal truths with women to help them heal their emotional bodies so that they can express more of their divinity, creating more ease and flow in their daily lives. So today's topic, it's healing yourself. Reset your triggers and expectations to activate your healing. My name is Robin Johnson, and I am one of your co-hosts. My story is typical. I grew up a product of a divorce, which left me with some distorted sense of perceptions. And like many people, I tried to chase away the memories of the trauma through over accomplishment. So I went to college, graduated second in my class. I went to London, got a master's degree. I went to Paris, got an MBA. I got certified in life coaching. I went to seminary and got certification. Well, that didn't work. That still left the trauma underneath all of the accomplishment. And so then I went and started trying to run my own company. I ran a management consulting firm. Then I started another firm in life coaching. Still, underneath all of that was the trauma. So, how was I supposed to move from the intellectual understanding that I know how to heal myself into the application of actually healing myself? And one of the things I discovered was that in studying all of the world's religions and traveling to 40 countries, there are certain universal truths around spirituality. And in all cultures, they often motivate people, inspire people to become one with the divine, one with the spirit or essence of all creation. And so moving from my head to my heart, as my mentor Debbie Ford would say, is the longest journey of your life. How do you do that? For me personally, what I had to finally reconcile was what triggered me. So it was the triggers, and the triggers for me often came out of the trauma and the meaning I assigned to the trauma. And we're going to talk about that today. That's a real important topic. So, you know my story. Now, let me introduce you to my co host, Adele Green. Adele?
Yeah, so for me, it's aloha from Hawaii. I've got the privilege of being stuck in paradise in a pandemic. So, but also by choice. Yes, so I'm a coach, like you know most of me by now, and you know me as Adele Green. I have been in coaching for 12 years. And what led me to coaching is my own story, of course. I have started very young, like many of us, our stories get stuck very, very young with a background of abuse and layers of trauma, and it drove me to choose the career eventually that I wanted. You know, it's not what we study and it's not what we do. So I eventually made the switch from a corporate world into coaching. And as that happened for me, it was slowly a process of becoming conscious, which is different to, it's different from when you think you know, you always think you know, and then you want to help other people, but you are in a process of slowly working through the motions, and in the meanings that you make, and then in the unmeaning that you make, and then in the re-meaning and the reprogramming and all of that. So my story of coaching comes with a background of reaching many milestones. I was fortunate enough to also publish a book, and the book is about, my book is focused on relationship but personal development. And the reason we are talking about this today, and I am so driven to talk about this today, is because Robin and I have been having these conversations for a while. And one day we realized we have to maybe share these conversations because it comes on such an amazing heart space. It's like a frequency that comes in, and we wire each other up and we feel so good afterwards. And we realize something happens when we're having these conversations together, and we just wanted to share it. So my introduction is very informal, but it comes from a long time of really being very driven to talk about these things. And when Robin and I decided to do this, we wanted to do it in 3 different sessions, and it was very guided and very clear and very specific when the information came in, when we decided this is what we want to talk about, because it wasn't logic. It was very spirit-led. Robin just came to me and she said, you know, Spirit said, these are the 3 topics that we need to talk about. And as we're doing it, we are uncovering why. And that's what makes today's topic so exciting, because whatever it is that we do it from our own space of how we understand it, and when we're ready to understand what Spirit's trying to say to us. So we literally getting the what is the word I'm looking for? We are getting our brains are getting the information when we're ready to understand them with our hearts, although the information is available for us already. And that's a little bit like how the heart wiring works, or at least how I'm starting to understand how it works. And it is based on a lot of universal truths and about unlearning a lot of the stuff that we know. But the emotional healing part, the healing ourselves part, is the reason this was the topic that we picked for today, is because it starts with the healing process. And we just need to explain a little bit about what that is. What is this healing process about? Because we all work in healing. We all have understandings of healing. We all have our own communities where we do healing work ourselves. People will come to us. It's sometimes very goal driven. It's sometimes very intuitively led. Everybody works differently, and they've come to figure out where their skills and their gifts are. But before I talk about that, I just want to say one other thing. When we come with our life question, so my life question, there's a story to it, and I don't want to necessarily share that. Maybe we'll get into that later, Robert and I. But my life question has helped me to discover my gift, my true gift, the gift behind the gift I thought it was. And when I discovered what that was, when I apply that, that's what brings me into my heart space. And this space where we are all connected is uncluttered from what we taught to do and what we think we're doing. And it literally brings us to this shared community space. And when we talk about healing ourselves, it's about coming to this space of healing to the point where we're connected to other people from I know that you get what I say space without having to say it. It's when we're in this space where Spirit is as well. I'm saying Spirit, it could be anything for you. It could be source, it could be completely in your intuition. It's got nothing to do with religion. It's that thing that is bigger than us, that binds us, that created us. And you can hear I'm excited, so my brain doesn't even work properly when I try to put the words out there. But it's the emotional space is about closing the gap. This is about the healing yourself is about closing the space from where you are, or where you think you are, or what you think you need to be to do, or what you feel almost you need to do, to where is that space where you can operate on a wired level, where you can operate on a wired level, and you are inspired to do the things that you spirit leads you to do, and you don't need to understand it. You just have to follow the steps. And so each of us have a life story. Each of us have our unique gift that only we can bring to the world, whether we know what that is or not yet. And that gap, that's the space where we're talking about healing ourselves. So it's almost in part learning how to use your gift and apply your gift and put that in the world in the way that you are automatically in the wired space. Does that make sense, Robin?
Yes, it does, Adele. Yesterday when we talked, one of the things you said was that we must prepare ourselves for this emerging world, and that you said we must close the gap and we must move ourselves into a higher level of consciousness. We have a lot of problems in the world right now. We have a lot of problems in our individual lives right now. So how do we close the gap so that we are more spirit-led in terms of how we operate in our day-to-day? And that is partly what drew us to this particular topic. So can you speak a little bit more to that higher consciousness level, women being hardwired for that already? Because in the higher consciousness, it's all about love, inclusion, compassion, collaboration. It's all about the ideals that we all strive to live in. So can you speak a little bit more to the higher consciousness and the need to close that gap?
I think we mentioned some of what I'm going to mention now already in the introduction, but if we haven't closed the gap, sometimes it's better to understand something when you understand what it is not. You will have distortions in your meanings that you make. You will think that you understand, but you might be just a little bit off and miss a few things. So when you close the gap, that's what the healing is about. So that you know that the messages that you're getting are clear, you know what they are, and you know exactly what to do with them, and you can just follow that next step. So an example would be, I have this learned habit of, in the mornings when I start, I make a to-do list. I almost can't even function until I have it. it's it's terrible, but it is like my mind needs to create this thing so I can hang on to it and work from there. And if spirit wants to use me for anything, I am almost completely disabled to do anything, because my brain is clogged and I am distorted with this thing that I think I need to do. So that would be an example of when you are in a higher consciousness, you are more free and you are more willing and you are more able and you are more open to actually be connected all the time. So, and when you are connected all the time, then you are not going to be stressed out by these things that you think you need to do. You can automatically just show up and be free to go do exactly what you need to do, because spirit kind of does that. I used to call it being under security clearance. Like, I'm not ready to get the information, so they don't give it to me, right? But it's more a matter of, am I ready to do what they tell me to do when they tell me to do it? So spirit knows exactly when I need to do what. And you mentioned an example yesterday, Robin, that I want you to mention as well, because these practical things are what really makes us understand them. And this is, so will you share that with us?
Okay, no, I have a different one. So
Okay.
it's a today's story.
Okay.
In talking to Adele, and many of you can relate to this, when you deal with someone else who has a pattern or habit different from yours, sometimes you can be influenced by how they behave. So yesterday, when Adele and I chatted about what we're going to talk about today, and we laid out a lot of things that needed to be said and how we needed to organize ourselves, that is really not me. I am not a very structured, organized person. Before I do any presentation, I simply say to Spirit, hey, I have nothing to say to your people. The vessel's yours. Do what you will. But in our conversation yesterday, I decided I needed to get a little more structured. So this morning, I'm typing up a few notes, I'm getting organized, and my keyboard stops working. I could not type anything. And all I heard was, go have breakfast. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing structured for this. Whatever comes is what spirit needs to come. And sometimes I'm just sharing that story. So many of you will know you have to trust what you're getting. You have to trust how you're being and know that that is already enough. Sometimes we over prepare. Sometimes we get ourselves all worked up because we have in our own minds a level of perfection that we are going for. Our perfection may be viewed very differently from the spirit that is leading within us. So if we can yield a little bit, bend a little bit, flex a little bit, and heal ourselves, then we can open up to functioning without a keyboard and a preset script. How's that today, sister?
Yeah, that's typical. Scramble, can't find the notes.
Right, right.
Yeah. I suppose we can all relate to that. But in spirit does that, great little conundrums. So, and that brings us to the trust element. That's one of the elements we need to be in a healing space. So I want to say something about that I actually made a note of yesterday, not to forget. So I'm so glad this came up. When we trust, we think of trusting blindly. And when it comes to co-creation, it's vital for us to understand that this is not about us being good soldiers.
Hmm.
We are where we are. And if we get guided to do anything and it is not practical for us, we are allowed to say, hello, what about this? Hello, what about that? Because it is where we live, and it is about us needing practical guidance and advice as opposed to just being good little soldiers.
Mhm.
So the irony is that, and it took me a long time to figure this out. When I was like, okay, now give me orders, nothing happens for me.
Mhm.
But when I say I'm here, I'm showing up with my gifts, I'm willing on participating, and I'm ready, then and I get information before I blindly go and I just do it. It's almost like I am wanted to have this conversation about it. I am allowed to question things, and that's different. Co-creation is different than just following blindly what it is
Mhm.
that you get. So the trusting is very interesting. It's not a religious kind of a trust where you just follow my lead, and somebody else leads you. You also lead.
I need to
You
put on a
say,
bra before I get on.
I heard that.
I'm
Who said
sorry.
that? That's okay. So what that was very funny. Okay, sorry. I'm a little bit distracted. And that's also what happens. This is all part of real life. We are given all these little incidents to truly embody that which we think we understand so we can truly understand them. So trusting is like, I go and I set up all the technical stuff for this particular call to work in a specific way, and then the things don't work exactly like I want them to. So people come up and that I have to manually mute them, and that's a distraction, and then things happen. So where is trust? What do you trust? When do you trust? Why do you trust? And that's a vital part of when we work with spirit to understand where is our participation. It's like It's like that story where the little boat comes past to save you, that God informed somebody else to do, and you don't want to get on the boat, because God's not sitting in the boat that's going to come and save you himself, and we're stubborn. There's that element of who we are, and how we bring ourselves to the party, which is part of the healing yourself part, and so that we are ready to truly understand that. And then there's the element of the co-creation of spirit. Are we ready to hear it? Are we ready to interpret it? Yeah, Robin.
Yes, I have a book that I have not read in forever. I'm showing it. It's called Journey with the Master by Eva Weber, written in the like 1950s. It's a really old book. It's kind of like essays of spirit talking to you. And so I opened the book randomly, and this is the one that came up. So I'm going to share parts of it with the audience. It says, "Beloved, allow me, the indweller of your soul, to take over the living of the day which is before you. Step aside if you can in your aspect of human personality and allow me to function fully through you." It goes on to say a few other things, but then it comes back and it says, "But you say, how can this be done? How shall I be able to turn the working of my day over to the divine one who dwells within me? There must be some method for this other than just saying, I will do it. Indeed, my beloved, there is a way and there is a key. Keep out all negative thoughts, which will in turn bring in negative effects into your life. Act on only positive principles. When a negative thing presents itself and you accept it, that acceptance will be allowing the physical to take over. So the first thing to do when this happens is to close the door quickly and firmly upon any thought or action which is not of soul and of spirit. I love this little book. I mean, and so this brings me to a conversation we were having, Adele, and that is part of healing yourself is about doing what you need to do to stay in the right frame of mind, because you can be easily influenced by everything in the external environment, everything in the outer. And then if you're influenced by the things in the outer, then it comes back to the concept of you being easily triggered if you haven't healed
Yes.
certain things within yourself. So Adele, I think if it's okay with you, I'd like to really get into our topic today, starting with the first part of our conversation, and that is using the triggers, understanding the triggers so that we can begin to more highly activate our divine self. If we can begin to understand our triggers, manage our triggers, diminish our triggers, minimize our triggers, then this gives us more room, as I like to say, for spirit to operate, and then for us to co-create. Part of what we're talking about is having the ability to live life freely, not in a structured way. Oh, today I've got to do this and do that, and then A, B, C, D, and got to have these outcomes. We're talking about giving spirit room to operate so that what you do is optimal, it's maximal, it's beneficial to not only you, but those around you. So if it's okay with you, Adele, I'm going to start a little bit talking about triggers and what I found. For those of you who are life coaches, many of those in our membership already are. Forgive me if this is elementary basic 101. You already know this. Your job is to continue to share it. If this is new to you, then I'm going to put online after we finish this a little section from my curriculum that allows you to begin to work through this process of identifying and minimizing your own triggers. So in my second book, ETA to Oneness, A Journey to Spiritual Awakening, On page 81 into 82, I said, and I'm talking about how do you deactivate triggers. The first thing you must do is to recognize that triggers are real. In taking personal responsibility for your own feelings, you allow yourself to recognize when something upsets you, frustrates you, creates fear in you, or makes you unhappy. From the recognition of triggers, you can begin your own assessment, seeking to uncover potential patterns to your reactions, as well as, and this is important, as well as your contribution to the chaos. Start by asking yourself, where has this happened to me before? You will get an answer, because what has happened to you now has probably happened to you before. What pattern is being revealed? Accessing patterns allows you to focus on the trigger which needs to be addressed. Now, the reason I'm sharing that is because a lot of people, especially those of us who are quote unquote so spiritual, we're beyond all of that, and we shouldn't even be triggered. And what I say is that triggers are a blessing. Triggers allow us to know where to look to continue to heal ourselves. Triggers often form a pattern. You're often reacting to the same type of thing. If for me, I'll give you a prime example. For me, because of my own background in trauma, one of my biggest triggers is abandonment, because my father divorced my mother early and I just felt abandoned, And so if I send messages to people, if I call people and they don't call me back, OMG, I'm triggered. And so I have to allow myself to do that, to feel that. And what I do is then I go into the feeling and I go into the questions and I go into allowing basically the little person inside of me to say, oh my God, I'm scared, I'm frightened, I'm fearful. It is okay to feel those feelings. The problem comes when we stay anchored, stuck in that way of thinking. I say that, I feel that, and then I have a conversation with Spirit who says, little Robin, don't worry. I've got you. It's okay to feel like that. You're not alone. I've got you. And now I'm saying, okay, I don't have to stay like this. I don't have to be like this. I don't have to be afraid that somebody who doesn't call me back is not mad with me. I didn't create a problem for them. Instead, maybe they're busy. They've got something else to do. They've got some other priorities. That's okay. So I start collecting evidence, which is what I learned in my coaching program, for the new belief that, yes, I can trust that people will call me back. I don't have to feel abandoned. Once we begin to collect evidence for a new belief, it releases that old belief. And to me, in that is where I find I can better access spirit. Sometimes if I'm too grounded in all of this, the way the world works and what I'm supposed to do and the expectations, which is also part of what we talked about in our title. If I'm too grounded in all of the expectations, I'm giving spirit no room to operate. If I'm trying to operate from a heart-wired space, I must make that the priority and not the thinking thoughts that run through my mind 24/7 at times. As I continued on this process of letting the thoughts run, letting the emotion run, it seems to be running out and my mind seems to be getting calmer. So triggers are a blessing. Don't run away from them. Look at the patterns of them so that you can use the triggers to heal yourself, and for coaches to help heal your clients, and for coaches to not bring your stuff to your clients. There are many times we don't even understand that we're doing that, but our way of being, if it's not spirit-led and heart-led, we can overshadow the people we're here to support. So Adele, I'm going to turn it back to you, but that's my pitch for today. And this is big for me. And it's been a real blessing in my life to be triggered by everybody I know and love, especially those you love. They will trigger you to no end. Don't run away from it. Let yourself feel what you're feeling. Ask all the questions after you feel what you're feeling. You've got to be authentic in this process because God is in the authenticity of it all.
Absolutely.
Adele.
Absolutely. That's thank you. That was very clear, and it was a very nice way to describe triggers, and especially knowing what's coming, which I won't share with them. I'll leave that for you. So, for me, so far, the stuff we've been talking about, where we initially talked about the kind of environment where we are hardwired, and what that's about, to function in that, knowing now that you've got all the things that happen to you that set the stage for you to be triggered for all these things that you take so personally, and that the trigger can help us with a healing process. Um, and considering what you said in terms of the message that you just gave us, don't focus on the negative, brings me to the aspect of, and I've mentioned this in the group, when is it a feeling and when is it an emotion? And then again, my contribution to the triggers. So the when it's an emotion, it's because when we have an emotional reaction, which is a trigger, it comes directly from, in our minds we have an idea of what's supposed to happen, then the actual event happened, and it happens, and it's better than you wanted it to be. That's also a trigger, right? So it's you're overly positive, it went better than you thought it would be. That's a positive emotion. Then sometimes something happens which is not what you wanted, which almost lately seems like we're getting a little bit more of those. We have a pandemic and a whole lot of things we could not foresee. So we having a reaction to an expectation because we have an unmet need. And that triggers us. It triggers us in a negative way. So if we're not supposed to focus on the negative, and we're supposed to focus more on the positive and act on the positive, but not act on the negative, the healing is what we do with the triggers. So that all makes sense in a big overview. And each one of us probably have by now our own unique way of healing as well. The other aspect that I want to bring to it is, as coaches, we have formulas and we have processes and we have ways that we deal with these things, but we also have some things which we are almost overdeveloped in, and we bring that with us as well. We bring that into this heart wide space as well, but that comes often with a distortion. So I want to give an example. So when I speak to somebody, I immediately feel this need to explain the process to them, which they don't want that, right? They just want to be able to take what I tell them and apply it in their own lives. That's their interest. It's the extent of their interest. Now they're also bombarded with me explaining things to them. And it becomes a habit for me, because when I speak to my husband, then I also want to explain something to him. I think he often reminds me, I want to be married to you, not the coach kind of scenario. Whether you're a psychologist, doesn't matter what the role is in which you do it. It's important for us to also not bring that into the hardwired space, because that's also, believe it or not, as much as that is really serving us, it is also conditioned learning, because we have formulas and processes and those things. So do what works for you. If you can benefit from what Robin has said and from what she will, because we want to bring that in as well for the people who have those areas not covered, right? So we want you to know that triggers are good because it'll show you what you are ready to heal. It's not because you have so much, it's because you're ready to heal them. That's why they come up. That's why they come into awareness. And if it's something that because it's unlearning as much as it is healing, for that fertile environment where we are connected on a heart level. And we are wired for this. We were born wired for this. When we were babies, we were, if there's such a thing, more perfect than we are now, to connect on a heart level. Because how do you connect to a child? If you have a child, you'll know, like I do. I couldn't reason with my baby when she was, well, when they were born, they're boys. I don't know why I said she. I had to really drop my energy down into my heart and I had to become still. Otherwise, they don't respond to me. I have the same with my animals. If I
Mm.
get all excited, they run away. They don't want to be around me, right? So that's the kind of space we're talking about. That's the environment that we want to be in. That's the environment we want to heal ourselves for. And some days we're going to be straight in this state of mind, and other days we are not. Then we need to work with our triggers. I think that pretty much covers the overread of that. We do have Robert. Unless there's something else you want to add right now, we can maybe go into some of the questions.
No, it's just, to piggyback what you said. Many roads to the summit. That's what I call it. And our goal is to inspire women to take whatever path you need to elevate your consciousness, to open your heart, and to feel safe in that space. One of the issues that women have is quite often we have been victimized in some capacity, which is something that contributes to this willingness to keep our hearts closed. We've got to address any of those issues that seem to close our hearts. We can't just look past them, look beyond them, and act like they didn't really happen, because that is kind of what the triggers kind of reflect, things that we're just not dealing with. And as Adele says, once you deal with things that are being shown to you, it continues to open your heart. And that's what we need. We can't have a world where people are so self-absorbed and it's only about me and what I need and what I want. And, whatever's happening to you, that's your problem. That's on you. We cannot survive like that as a world. And it's not just my opinion now. In a recent book, Our Moment of Time, 43 evolutionary leaders came together, and the scientist who contributed articles to the book said, if we don't move to what we're calling the heartwired space, if we don't move to a place of community, collaboration, compassion, caring, kindness, oneness, if we don't move to that space, then we are facing the sixth mass extinction of mankind, literally. So we don't have a choice but to be who God is calling all of us to be who the Creator is calling us to be, to not hesitate, to not hedge, to not wonder, to not question if I am being and doing what God needs me to be and do. Ask God for guidance and direction and just do it. As the Nike commercial says, just do it. Step beyond the fear of what may happen to you if you go and be and do all of what you're being called to be and do. I've been inspired to do these conversations with Adele through the book, because we need to make sure that women know that there's a whole community of people out here who need to hear you, who need to feel you, where your presence can make a big difference. And if you can continue to elevate your consciousness, you take everybody with you. This is not a personal thing. This is not something that Adele and I are just talking about. This is a global thing. This is a community thing. We all must step into who we're called to be in this moment without hesitation.
I
So
think
Adele, I'm
what
going to leave that.
sorry, now I'm all excited. There's something I'm very, very eager to say. And that is that we have this way when we think we understand something, and we're not when we know something, like we know, like we know, like we know, right? We become the leaders and we share that. Okay. And this is where, when you are working in the hardwired space, that's slightly different. You are not now the leader who knows everything and shows everybody else what to do. It's a participative thing. So, and it comes from your entire life that set you up with your life story and your life question, and you discovering what your gift is and knowing that you are the only person unique in the world to bring that gift. But now you bring it into a consciousness, in a state of mind, on a level where people connect with it differently. They don't come with the energy of, I want to learn from you and then I'm going to go teach it to my group,
Mm.
right? They come from a space of, how can I participate in this community? It's like a magnet, and it's going to attract you, and then it's going to attract other people who are slightly behind you to join, and we're all going to connect on this level of consciousness. So it's more than just feeling and being positive. It's literally a level that we are wired at, that we are all going to grow into. It's like big shoes, and we're stepping into them, and we're all stepping into them. Maybe one does it before the other, but you can't really teach somebody else how to do it. Life
No,
teaches you,
right.
spirit teaches you, the triggers teach you. You know, every single thing that comes up for you, you connect with that. That's what you're meant to do. You engage with that thing. So, like when Robin read earlier, and she said, you know, you put your action into the positive part of what had just happened. That in essence is like, it doesn't mean sweep under the carpet the parts you don't like. It's like focus your action, your outer action, and your inspired action on this side, and the rest part of the stuff gets done for you. It's kind of like alchemy. It's not step 1, 2, 3, you know, equals the next step. It's like 1+1=5, right? You show up with
Synergy.
your bit, yes, and then all the other stuff also happens, and that's like a magic world, because we don't have a science for it. We don't really have an explanation. Everybody tries to explain it, but nobody can put all the parts and the elements together in a way that it completely makes sense. So the hardwired, where we wired, what we wired for, the fact that we know that, the fact, because it's a fact now that we know that we have to trust in order to open our hearts, right? That's what my book's a lot about. It's about how you open your heart in the toughest of situations. It's called Can You See Me Naked? And it's set in the environment of the relationship, the place where you get hurt the most. To keep your heart open. What does it mean, and how do you grow and learn through that? So, but the point is, to get to that level of trust, it's not about blind trust. It's about the kind of trust that allows you to operate, being connected all the time to the heart wiring, if that makes sense. But what I got so excited about is the consciousness of how do I explain it? On that level of consciousness, this is what Spirit explained to me. If you are here on the, let's say, the hardwired level of consciousness, for lack of a better word, because there's lots of different grading systems out there that we're aware of. If you're sitting here, you cannot access this negative stuff down here. So every time you make an investment to act on something that is positive, as opposed to the other things that you could also act on, because you have all these reactions, right? When you act on that one, when that is your choice, then you making another dot on this side of the line, which is the line that you want to be on, this other level of consciousness, where incidentally, many of these negative things are not. The emotions are not there. They don't exist on that level. So the shifting side of it is a little bit more tricky. It is possible. It's not about effort. It's just about choice. And it's not complicated. It's simple, but it's not easy. But if you allow Spirit to come with you, then it's easier, isn't it, Robin? Robin said
Yeah.
to me yesterday, she said, sorry, now I'm speaking for you, but she said, no, I don't have those things anymore. And I was sharing something very personal. It's like, no, I don't have that anymore. And it's possible. It is possible for us to experience a different kind of trigger, a kind of trigger that would later elevate us more. And I'm sure that they'll be there, but they'll change the face of them. Do you want to say anything else about it?
Yeah, no, that's well said, Adele. I'm sure everybody on Facebook, everybody who's listening to this, everybody's got their own path. Everybody has their own path. Everybody's got their own divine assignment. Everybody's got their own internal divine guide. All we're saying is follow that above all else. Don't listen to me, Adele, or anybody else tell you what needs to happen for you unless you resonate with what we're saying. Everybody's got a path. And what we're talking about now in the new world that's emerging is we all need to share whatever it is that we're getting, because it may inspire someone else to then do or be or access what it is they need to be doing. So that's all I wanted to share. We all have a path, and it's different for everybody because we're all contributing different things in this global puzzle that we're all a part of. Trust what you're getting. If you don't remember anything else that I say today, just trust what you're getting. It may be at one point in my life, I was crazy in devouring books on religion and metaphysics and, Course in Miracles and Bible and Bhagavad Gita, Kabbalah, I Ching. I was reading anything and everything I could get my hands on. Then there was another period in time where I just wanted to play and go have fun. So I started traveling to all these countries, to China, to India, to Thailand, to Egypt, to Israel, to Peru. I didn't want to learn anything else. Sometimes there comes a place or a point where the absorption of information is placed on pause for you, and there's an integration process that may be happening for you. Be okay with telling somebody, no, I don't want to read that book. No, I don't want to take that class. No, I just want to be. Allow yourself room to just be. No, I don't want to be dealing with the triggers today. Allow yourself to be wherever you are, because that is your path up the summit into the oneness with your creator. That's your path. Nobody can tell anybody else how they must be, what they must do. We can just share our experience, and that's all we can do. So isn't that what we're doing here, Adele?
Absolutely. And for me, this is almost a lead-in for the next session, because when you understand that you need to show up and you have to get yourself ready to show up, how you show up and with what you show up, just as you, just like we had to do for this morning, despite all our efforts to prepare and to feel okay about what we're going to say, because that's, I think sometimes all we really do is we're preparing ourselves for the state of mind so that we can be in the consciousness where we need to be when we do these things, right? That's really what all the structures and the preparation is for.
Yeah.
So when we do those things, when spirit says, okay, now go show up, okay, what you show up with is just who you are with your gift, and you trust that that is enough. Because for those that are there, whatever they need to connect with will be given, and you will be doing it, and you have to trust that that's going to be exactly what it needs to be. And that's the participation in the community. That's the next session, and the session after that is what it is you listen to, what it is, how you know, from the thoughts that you get and the feelings that you get, and what is it exactly that you're supposed to listen to, that little soft voice. And if you don't hear it, how to access it. So yeah, for me, this is very important, because without being willing and open and ready to heal yourself to the point where you can be in your heart-wired space when you show up, without that, you're going to be bleeding over your own triggers and stuff into the world, and some of your messages, as well intended as they might be, will be distorted. So, you know, it's the now that matters. That's where the power is. That is what will fuel your words, not the words you use, the meanings and the essence behind them. So, Robin, do you want to share with them what you're going to offer them to work with if they want to?
Okay, so for those who still want more of a process to work through your triggers, I have put together a curriculum that I wrote in 2018 that goes with my book, ETA to Oneness, A Journey to Spiritual Awareness. And I'm going to post on our Facebook page in Unit 2, Lesson 7, which is all about how to deal with triggers. And it's done in several sections. One is just a discussion or description of what triggers are and what it means to deactivate them. The second section is helping you to identify what the trigger looks like. You know, how do you know when you're being triggered if you're not really clear? The third section is your awareness. And it's more of a little essay kind of section. And the fourth section is what's your game plan? And game is, what's your goal, what's your action, how do you measure it, and what's your evaluation? What's your game plan to begin to take on a particular trigger in the coming days or in the coming weeks? So I'm going to post that online. I think it could be useful to some people who are looking for more of a process to move through that process. And Adele, what are you offering?
Hold on. Are you going to put it in the Heartwiring group on Facebook?
Absolutely. I'm going to put it on our Heartwiring group Facebook page. It's going to be in Unit 2.
Awesome. Okay. So if you follow the units, you'll be able to go through every one of them in the sequence that they presented. So that's great. So Robin, you're going to put it between the two events, between this event today and the next event.
Yes.
Okay. And obviously you'll share it in the group as well, so that if people still struggle to find it, they'll find it there as well.
Okay.
Okay. Will it be a file that they download?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll just be a straight Word file.
Like a workbook.
Yes.
Awesome. Great.
It's only like 4 pages. It's very short.
Okay. So I forgot to mention actually, but Robin and I decided before the time, before we yesterday when we were talking, we will give away something for the people who's been willing to come online on Zoom and participate with us, because the energy helps us to hold what we do, and it gives you an opportunity to also participate and ask questions. And for those of you who stay on, we're almost at the end. I will also share something, and for that's just a simple URL. So I will share that just now. But I just want to touch on one more thing. It was a question that came up in the group, and it was Danny who posted it. And she was talking about the way men are reacting the moment they feel excluded. And I cannot remember exactly how she put it, but Robin and I decided we want to discuss it in the session and just share our views on what it is. So I will share something about it, and Robin can as well. And then if Danny still wants to ask something more about it, she's welcome to. She is online. Um, so unless we misunderstood the question, there seems to be a reaction sometimes from men where they feel like, oh my gosh, women are so powerful, they're going to take over the world. I see you, Danny, and I see your message.
Mhm.
And, like, are women going to take over the world? Must we just kind of hand it to them? It's like, what is all this women stuff about? So I have quite a lot to say to that. And I also did it in the post, but I didn't quite know exactly what Danny was meaning. Maybe she meant more than what I understood, and she can let us know. But I've been working with masculine and feminine energy and what it is for most of my career, because it's not just played out in our world in men and women, it's also inside of us, masculine and feminine energy. And some people are very educated about it, so I don't want to bore them. I just want to say that at the moment, the focus seems to be on women first. I don't think it's women rule the world. I think it's women first, and it's for very good reason. We are sensitive. We give ourselves permission to have emotions. The more we work in the corporate world and the male leadership roles, we tend to take on more masculine energy. Not take it on, we show up more with them, where we are more focused, more structured, and we spoke about this earlier. But when it comes to feminine energy, we are softer, we are more empathic, we are listening, we are more tuned in and tuned into people, and we are more equipped, literally and anatomically, actually, as women, in order to facilitate networks, society, families, communities, assistance, nurturing. Our bodies are built to bring up babies and give birth to babies. And all those things add up to what it means to be feminine. With feminine energy, it's the inside dive. And that is when we come back into the world where the triggers show up. So I'm nice and peaceful in the morning, and then 2 minutes later, I'm screaming at everybody in my house because they're not doing the stuff I expect them to. So heartwiring is about how do we stay in that space where we are on the consciousness, where we are connected, undistorted to operate and to show up. When we're talking about women and why we're doing this with women is because, you know what, maybe it just is a little bit easier for us. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying for men, it's going to be harder because they're not so sensitive. They're not so okay with being okay with these parts of themselves. A lot of them just shut them down when they're 16 already. And it'll take us to help show them the behavior so that they can also step into this. So I've always been an advocate and a firm believer of women first. And now, because of the spiritual emergence we're experiencing on a world scale level, this has to happen right now and it has to happen quickly. So when we show up or we're showing up as ourselves, we show up this way. So there will be men who react to it. I have in my career had so many men, especially from Europe, also from America, but from Europe, a lot of guys saying to me, you know, like, what is it with you women? You know, and women are literally like taking over Europe right now. But it's not about us stepping into masculine leadership roles. This is about us showing up as us and not even showing up as a woman. It's about showing up with your gift when you know what that is. And, you know, you guys are really free in the group, in the Heartwiring group to say, this is my story and this is my gift. As long as you don't post links or anything like that, we don't want it to be a promotional thing. We want to get to know you and your story because there might be other people in the group who might be able to resonate with you and who you can grow with or connect with. So please do that by all means. But we want to know who you are. And Robin knows some of you and I know some of you, but I don't know many of you and Robin don't know many of you either. And we don't know each other. So it is a space for us to connect. And if the time comes, when the time comes, we will close the group because the conversations become sensitive. At the moment they're open, so we might just want it to be easy for everybody to find while we're having these conversations. But we've got no agenda. We've got nothing to sell to anybody. But when it comes to men, right? It's and if you need to appease them, it's just inviting them. Actually, when I finished my book, I wrote, because I spoke with a feminine voice in the book, everything I said came from that space. And I believe that the feminine is emerging and it's happening right now. And it's happening for the whole world. It's not just about for my personal development. It's not just for us to heal our communities. It is so the whole world can evolve. We have to evolve as a human species if we want to survive what's coming. Seriously. And this is not me talking. This is the experts and the scientists and the guys, what they're talking about in One Moment of Choice. And when it comes to men reacting to these things, that's just a trigger. So the way we heal the trigger is we say to them, why don't I have a conversation with you about it? Why don't you tell me how you feel? And you actually display those feminine leadership characteristics. And if you don't have a box for where those things fit in, I did a whole podcast on that called Make It with Adele. And you can find it pretty much all the platforms where I interview women who I believe are feminine leaders, which that's a whole different topic. But that's my take on, you know, when men react, how I deal with it and what it means to me. Robin, is there something that you want to add? And then maybe we can
No, we're kind of running out of time, but I did want to bring up a question that Rochelle asked me earlier that I absolutely have no answer to. Rochelle and I were talking, and she's also a coach, and we talked a lot about emotional healing. And she asked, what about physical healing? What's the emotional connection to the physical healing? And she said, you know, she deals with neuropathy, and what becomes the way to emotionally heal a physical issue? I'm not the expert on that. Do you have any input or insight into that?
Yeah. So in my coaching career, I'm both a kinesiologist and a meta coach. And I have very early on, kind of when I was going through this stage, which a lot of us as coaches go through, we just fill out toolbox, right? So I did the coaching thing and then I did the kinesiology straight after that. And I actually built my coaching practice based on the mind-body link. And I very quickly learned that there are levels. So if I don't listen to spirit, right? And spirit talks to me in the spiritual anatomy, in the I like the way Caroline describes these things the best for me. She talks about the anatomy of the soul, but you can also break it down to energy centers, and you can break it down to how the consciousness layers are formed around your body. So first, the message is going to come on spirit level. Then the message is going to come into the mental body. Then the message is going to come through the emotional body. Then the message is going to come into the physical body. So if I don't listen to the message the first time, right? When spirit talks to me and I keep ignoring it, and it's a big part of my life story, okay? I'm eventually, once it moves through all the levels, and we all have different strengths at different levels. Robin is very strong on a mental body level. I'm very strong on an emotional body level, right? So the next level that things move to is a physical level. So your body will display a certain dis-ease, a lack of ease. The flow gets blocked somewhere, and eventually it shows up in your body's a physical illness. So when I worked in my practice, I did not care whether people were showing up with a physical illness or a story that they needed to unbelieve or an emotional trigger. I always dealt with it in the same way. I just went straight for the jugular, dealt with the root cause, worked with them at a cell level, and we would be dealing with the issue eventually. And often, because I would, depending on what I was doing at the time, if it was a physical symptom, it would disappear. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter what it was. And if this is actually the field of, if you want to know more about this, I can highly recommend Caroline Mrs. work. If you haven't worked with her stuff before, even Deepak Chopra covers these things in great. Quantum Healing, I think, is his main book that people refer to, and he makes those connections for you. But how that works. So if you have something that's already displayed on a physical level, that does not mean it's not people that gets a knock because they're not listening to their gifts. Everything at the end of the day comes down to that. Our job is to figure out what our purpose is. And it is always right in front of our noses. But sometimes it's so layered with so many things that we don't see it. We can't see it because it's like you get layers and layers and layers of triggers before you're going to get to the key thing. And we as coaches, well, I spent my life, I wanted to be a coach so I could do this. I spent 12 years learning what my story is and how to get to the root cause of it and what I'm supposed to do with it, right? So it's not going to be just easy for you, but if you go into a place of trust with spirit, you can get to the root cause of it. And you can focus on it on a physical level, you can focus on an emotional level, you can focus it on a mental level, or you can focus on it directly with spirit. It really depends on where your preference is, or even sometimes where your level of awareness is. I hope that is helpful, but in my experience, these things are directly linked. So I, for example, have a little soul interpret session. Maybe Rochelle, you want to just maybe spend 15 minutes with me or something, and I can, if you want a specific thing that you want to share, and then I can help you connect with what that is, and then you can take it from there because you have your own tools. I believe we all heal ourselves. I don't need to do this for anybody, and I don't actually actively practice coaching anymore because we run a business in Hawaii. So I just do it because I have time to do it and I love to do it, and that's open for you. If you want, you can connect with me afterwards if you want more. But if you want to ask something specifically now that you want me to clarify more that everybody else will benefit from, you're welcome to, and we can put you live. Would you like that?
No.
Oh, yes. Okay, cool. Okay, there we go. If when my button decides to work. It's not unmuting. Is it unmuting? Rochelle, can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So
unmuted. I have a voice.
excellent. We all have a voice. Would you like to ask something more specifically about that?
Well, the only thing I can say is that I've had 3 hip replacements. So there's a lot of fascia, there's a lot of tightness. And there's so many times I just connect and ask, what is it that my legs need to say to me? And I don't get anything yet. I haven't gotten anything yet.
Do you want me to say it for you out loud?
Sure, go ahead. I'm an open book.
Okay. So I don't want to be too personal on the call for you.
You can.
Okay. So hips, interestingly enough, has got to do with abuse in our past. Abuse. So the funny thing is, Robin has it, I have it, I have a history of abuse, and we will always attract people who share things that we also have. So you are in good company, and I'm very happy to take this conversation with you much deeper. But once it settles in the hips, it's got to do with releasing the things that hold you captive.
I'd love it.
From the abuse. Okay.
I'd love it. Definitely. Thank you. Really.
Okay, pleasure. I just want to double check with Danny, do you still want to say something? Shame, I can't seem to unmute you guys. You seem to have to unmute yourself. I can only mute you. So if you want to add something, you can unmute yourself and just come on and, okay, or you don't need to. So I will
Hello, can you hear me?
There you are.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh.
we can hear you.
Yeah, but you cannot see me, right?
No,
No.
we can't see you.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to be seen, but I guess I'm not meant to be. No problem. I'm having trouble with figuring out when I hear a voice, is it spirit? Is it my mind talking to me?
Okay.
That's my only problem.
Gotcha. Do you know what? The third time we do the talk on intuition, that's when you want to give us that question. We're not going to answer you now. So you have to be patient until
Okay.
Wednesday next week. Okay. That's the great question.
Okay.
We can answer yours first.
Yeah. Thank you. And I want to thank you both for being so great. I just love listening to you and to both of you. Robin is the sister of my heart forever. And so glad to meet you now. It's just wonderful.
Awesome. We
Love you
thank
both.
for joining us. Love you both. Love you too.
Right. Love you, sisters. I
All
love
right.
all my sisters here. Thank you. Thank everybody for joining us. We're just a little after the hour. And so Adele still has something that she's going to share with everybody. And we do have another call coming up. So Adele, you want to kind of share with the people as we close this out?
Yes. I just want to, also for myself, I want to say thank you because you know what, if you guys don't show up, then Robin and I have to work so much harder to hold the energy in the field and do all the tech stuff and the this and the this and the this. And of course, I can't remember anything I said I'm going to say. So, so thank you when you show up. It really makes it easier for all of us, which will be the next topic that we're talking about. But I wanted to thank you guys specifically for being here. So I'm going to share something with you. We're assuming, of course, that a lot of you have your own networks and your own groups that you're working with. So this is for you. It's not for your networks because you were here and you were listening and you joined us. So you are welcome to go to my website. There's it's on the URL www.adele, ADELE -green, as in the color green.com/affirmations with an S /. When you go on there, you will be able to get 100 affirmations on abundance. When before I ended what I was doing on a coaching level, when I was still actively working in my coaching practice, this was the last thing in the level that I reached where I created, helped other women to create abundance with a set of beliefs that was totally true for me. I actually had to stop it because I was practicing those things and I was, sad to say, it sounds horrible to say it like this, but we were making too much money. I couldn't do my coaching practice anymore. So I absolutely and firmly believe in those affirmations. They are there for alignment for you. And I'm sharing them with you from a place of love to say thank you. So it's just a thank you. And you should be able to easily get it off there. Okay, so I'll just say the URL again. So it's adele-green.com/affirmations and enjoy. And that's it for us. We will again speak to you. So remember, if you want to be participating, although it's live on Facebook, if you want to be participating, we want you on the Zoom link. Okay, and I will post that. I'm going to take it off again, and then I will post it again 12 hours before the next one, or you can use the same link for the next time. Remember the time. Okay, so it's 12 noon New York time on Monday. Next talk. Okay. Robin, anything else?
No, nothing else. Like I said, thank you everyone for joining our call, and we look for you to continue to participate with us. Thank you.
Yes, and if you feel that there there are people that need to be hearing this or joining this, by all means invite them. It's not a closed group, it's still an open group. And until we finish our conversations, we don't know what we'll be doing next, but we will be leaving this on there in the sequence of the unit so people can go through it. You know, people might get on the bus. Some people like you, the guys that always at the beginning, they are the pioneers, but there's no cost to it. This is about sharing with everybody because we all need to get there eventually, right? Doesn't matter who walks first or who walks last. The point is that we need to walk, right? So share it with people so they can join the group, and it will be in there. So if people come in later, they can go through the sequence on the group. So ask them to join the group, and if you want to share the link because you want people to join us live, by all means. But we will carry on at the pace of where we are, and if people need to catch up, they can do it there. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.